Bonjour, Monsieur Simon.
Bonjour, madame.
Entrez, entrez, je vous prie, dans mon humble demeure.
Regarde.
So, you're Ted Simon.
Fabulous to meet you.
It's incredible.
Although I must admit, I never thought about it for years and years. I think once a long time ago, somebody told me that there had been a woman who went round the world, but I really wasn't paying attention, I think. And I know you haven't read my book, and I haven't read your book. And actually, probably both of us don't really want to read the books of other people doing the same thing. No?
No, on the contrary, but there were not so many people traveling and writing.
Yes, that's true.
And I knew you existed, but we were not on the same part of the world in the same time, I suppose. When did you start?
And I want to know where our paths crossed, and which route did you take?
The very first trip was in 1972, and it was a rally where I learned everything I hate in life.
Yes.
Groups. A motorcycle which was excellent but too heavy for me.
Yeah.
And so that rally from Paris to Isfahan, from Isfahan to after we started, I think we were 105. Arrived something like 92 in Isfahan. 11 said we go to Afghanistan, and I followed. Mm-hmm. And 5 to Pakistan, and I followed. And after, from Istanbul, I was alone on the road back home.
Yes.
Wrote my first book.
Yes.
And when I came back to Paris, I learned I had traveled in a truck, everything you can say about a girl who is not really on her planet. Mm-hmm. So I decided to go around the world as a proof that I was able to travel. Mm-hmm. So I made my tour around the world.
What was the route?
Yes, from Canada to Alaska.
Yes.
Japan. And after Bombay.
Yes.
Back to north of India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkey, etc., back to France. And I was alone, and it was gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And from that time on, I traveled alone.
Yes, yes.
And been happy. But you've been traveling alone as well, weren't you?
All the time, yes.
All the time?
Well, I had someone with me in Australia, but that was a mistake, actually.
How long did it last for you?
4 years.
4 years?
Yes. Yes.
But you stopped and had love affairs and worked and whatever?
Well, I had love affairs, but it didn't stop the journey. I mean, I spent a little time in Brazil because I was in prison, and when I got out of prison, it took me a little time to recover.
How did you go to prison? Why?
Oh, for no good reason at all. I arrived in Fortaleza in the north of Brazil on a cargo ship, and nobody was expecting me, and it was a military dictatorship, and so they decided to put me away. And for a while I thought they might kill me because there was no reason not to. Mm-hmm. But then...
How long did you stay in prison?
2 weeks. I was only for 2 weeks.
I love to travel, not to stop, really. Mm. So when I was on the bike, it was always in my head, if you ride 10 kilometers more, it will be nicer, more interesting. So I was always forward, you know. And I didn't really make friends on the way. I met people, and it was gorgeous. But I didn't stop as you did.
I had the opposite. I tried to travel as slowly as possible so that I would meet a lot of people. But you see, I was always going to write a book. Mm-hmm. And all the time I was thinking, how would this fit in to a book? How will I describe these people and what they're doing and so on? Yeah. Is the same for you?
Yeah, I took photos because they were proofs that I have been there. You know? And besides, I wanted to be happy. For me to be happy was to have a cat, of course, to travel, to write.
Yes.
But I was traveling on my own expense, and to make money, I paid my trip. The brands lent me the motorcycle, but at the end I gave it back. It was for the promotion. So in exchange, I went to the radio or TVs when there was one or whatever. I had also the fixing of the motorcycle by the people who were representative of the brand in the different countries, if there were some. But I was free of what I did and how I did it, as long as it was the motorcycle. And when I came back home, I was broke. So I used to sell articles to one motorcycle magazine, to Match magazine, who bought me a big article and very well paid. And after to Cosmopolitan when it was created. And I came back to my money after I fell in love, because I had no love stories on the way.
No love on the way.
No time, and I don't like shocked encounters. And after I broke my heart, and after I wrote my book, and when the book was finished, I went on another trip. That was my life up to 81, when Mitterrand, which was the president of the Republic, forbid to take more than 5,000 francs a year out of the country. So no travels anymore. So I kept writing novels, etc., and more articles for different magazines. But small trips.
Yes.
Here.
Yes. I just made this one big journey.
But you were working on the way?
I was writing, not working. No, I didn't work. I had a little money given to me to start from a newspaper, and I wrote pieces for them from different parts of the world. And sometimes they had no idea that I was going to take 4 years to do this. I mean, it's the longest. I'm sure it's the longest sponsored ride ever. But the editor was a very good man, wonderful man.
It was a motorcycle magazine, or?
No, the Sunday Times.
Wow.
Yes, the London Sunday
That's
Times.
Huge quality, yes.
Yeah, very extraordinary that they would do that.
Oh, yeah.
But that editor also had a motorcycle, and he was famous for being very independent of other people's opinions and so on. Harry Evans is his name. He did wonderful things with that paper, the whole thalidomide business and lots of scandals he exposed. But anyway, he kept me going more or less all the way, and so I was just determined to see as much of the world as I could on this one wonderful occasion.
And you've been on the 5 continents?
Yes. Yes, it was. I planned the longest route I could possibly plan to see as much as I could of the world, I was never a very good motorcyclist.
No, neither was I.
But after I got back to the book, you see, I was very lucky. The book, I didn't expect it, but the book became really successful, made a lot of money. And so I didn't have to worry after that about doing stuff for other people.
What did you do before going away as you did? What was your job?
I was when I went to university to study chemical engineering. And after 2 years, I decided I didn't think that was going to give me the kind of life I wanted. And I should have gone straight into the army then, because it was those days, military conscription. So I decided to go to Paris without any idea of what I could or
And why Paris?
do there. Well, it was closer.
Closer to USA?
No. Well, Paris is closer to London than... I was in London.
Ah, you were in London?
I'm a Londoner, yes.
Ah, you're a POM.
Yes, I'm a POM.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I thought you were American.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
I have the passport, but...
Woman's brain.
Yeah. No. I was at Imperial College in London, And I gave that up and went to Paris to find out what I wanted to do. And I had no idea. And I also played jazz clarinet.
Okay.
And there was a famous jazz clarinetist in London who I got to know. And when I told him I was going to Paris, he gave me a note to an introduction to somebody who he thought might be able to give me some kind of job or other. And this man worked for an English language newspaper in Paris called the Continental Daily Mail. And this was in 1951.
Ah oui.
Yeah. And he gave me a job as a messenger boy. Just, I used to stand in the corner of the room and wait for somebody to give me a piece of paper and I'd go somewhere. And I just stood there for a couple of months. And the man in front of me was a real journalist doing all sorts of clever stuff. And all I had to do was watch him. And one day he didn't turn up. And all this copy was coming in that he had to deal with. And so I did it myself. And he never came back and they gave me the job. and then from that point on, I became a journalist. I mean, it's crazy. That's how we used to do things in those days. Nowadays, you have to go to university,
of course.
take study courses and things. So I became a journalist. And then I did go into the Air Force, and I spent 2 years doing that. But they let me publish a magazine instead of having to go on parade and salute and so on. And that got me a job in Fleet Street afterwards. And so I stayed with newspapers. I was a newspaper executive.
D'accord.
And then I didn't like it anymore. And I found a ruin in the south of France, near where I live now. And it was a 13th century gatehouse that I bought for £1,000, I think, or even less. I think it was £70 or 700. I forget. It was nothing anyway. Yes. And I just moved to it there and stopped doing it. I just built stone windows and walls and restored this house for a few years. And then I also wrote articles for magazines to pay for the lime and the sand and the cement and then after a few years of that, I thought I needed to see the world.
Suddenly, like that.
It was just like that. I thought I was watching television. I was trying to write a novel. I was watching television. There was a BBC program about poverty. And they had pictures of a South Sea island where these people were supposed to be terribly poor. But they looked brilliant. They looked marvelously healthy and strong and vibrant. And I thought, this is ridiculous. There's something wrong here. And then somehow that same day, I thought, well, I really have to get out and see this world. And I thought, what would be a good way to do it? And I thought, well, maybe a motorcycle would be the right thing. And by the end of the day, I swear this is true, by the end of the day, I knew that was what I was going to do.
And you had your driving license?
No, I had I didn't have a bike. I knew nothing about motorcycles at all.
So you had to learn how to drive?
Everything, yes. And I almost didn't get my license in time. I was going to lead a life of crime, but I managed to get it. And I got support. It took 6 months to set it up. And
support, what do you mean? You got support?
I got the Sunday Times to help me. Yeah. And then on the day I started the journey, Egypt declared war on Israel.
Oh.
And, it was all across. I had all these visas that you have to get through North Africa and so on. I couldn't change the plan, but the whole place was at war, and it made it very, very exciting. Yes, it did. Yeah. So that was, and I was 42 years old then, you see, which is a big difference.
Ah oui.
Because you started as a young woman.
No, I was 28.
Yes, that's a young woman.
In fact, I got a very good education. You sit straight. You do not say bad words. You will marry but not be happy. You will have children.
Right. Yes.
And do not make too much money because, etc., etc. That was the education. But as I didn't agree completely with that program, I left my parents when I was 21, which is the moment you're allowed to build your life.
The soonest moment.
And I always wanted to travel and to write. So I went into a job which would give me money enough to have a normal life. I didn't want to starve. And I started in advertisement as a copywriter. And we were inventing, just creating advertisement. And it was absolutely extraordinary. And I learned how to write, how to imagine photos, how to imagine 30-second films, etc. You touch everything to communicate. So it was an excellent school.
That was a great time too for advertising. I know lots.
And I made more and more money, and I rented a very beautiful apartment on the side of Paris with a garden. I was in a success. But we got 68, the revolution, and I had to walk, and I didn't agree with walking. So I bought myself what you can drive when you have no license, a 50cc Honda. And I used to drive through Paris, going from my flat to the agency I was working with, on my 50cc, which looked like the motorcycle, with a little short I used to buy in Carnaby Street in London.
Of course, yes.
With lacy stockings, high heel shoes, and a little hat on the tail, on the head, but no helmet, of course.
That would have been a great picture.
Yes. Oh, it was so funny, you know.
Yes.
And what was gorgeous, the boys, the people in the cars, a girl on a motorcycle that didn't exist at all. I've been attacked one morning going to the agency on a red fire by an old lady with an umbrella. It's horrible what you do, madam. It's horrible. You shouldn't. And she was banging me. So I went through the red fire very fast. And of course, the guys who were driving their cars used to tell me on the red light, you and me, etc. I said, if you catch me, you fuck me. So when the light turned green, I used to start on my motorcycle as fast as I could. And they were rushing behind me, of course, and going down the Champs-Élysées, there was underground. So vroom, I left them. And I used to arrive to the agency and they said, how many did you get this morning? Well, 3, 4, etc. It was a good joke. And one morning I had 3 like that behind me. And I was rushing on the bike, and there was no traffic problems, you know, so they were faster than me, and it was dangerous. So when I arrived on the quay of the Seine, there is a moment where you have that big Louvre doors, you know. So I put my feet on the brake, I stopped the motorcycle, put another feet on the ground, turned the motorcycle, and slunk, went through the gate. And I heard pam, pam, pam behind me. I arrive at the agency, they say, and this morning I say 3, but they are in bad shape. Wow. We don't believe you. So we went to see and check at the midday stop of the job. And the street was covered with little pieces of glass that really banged one in the other. So I stopped playing If You Catch Me, You Fuck Me. It was not a good idea. And that was Paris, you know, after 68. It was so funny, so crazy, everything. And the thing is that when the holidays arrived, I used to take my holidays in September because there were less people everywhere, and it was beautiful. And I used to travel. I had my license, of course, so I had better motorcycles.
You did get a...
Yes, I did. And during the month of September, I was traveling here and there, and beautiful. And there was a moment when I said, look, I'm very happy 11 months a year, but the 12th month, I'm on heaven. So when I die, I will have only 1/12 of my life, where it will be perfect. No. So I resigned. I left the beautiful apartment, everything, and I went to travel. Yeah. And since then, I'm broke, but I'm so happy, you know.
Yeah.
You, or there were fears in your head?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, because I'd never had anything to do with motorcycles until I decided to use it for this purpose. And so I assumed that it would be very dangerous. I thought it must be dangerous to do it. And
danger of falling back, of having an accident, or what?
So the thing is, I couldn't afford to experiment. I was on this journey. Everything was packed. Everything was there for me to go around the world. I couldn't. I had no practice. I had very little chance to practice riding the bike in difficult situations. So yeah, for the first 3 months, I was really scared.
Ah, oui?
That and there were 1 or 2 times when I was very lucky. And in France, the first time when I came down through France from London back to where I was at that time had been living in Saint-Privat in the south of France, I remember coming towards Meal, or it was the evening. People were leaving their jobs. The traffic was crazy. They were all going mad, and I very nearly lost my life there. I was just able to squeeze past this madman who was coming at me. So yeah, I was. Yeah, it took me a few months to begin to believe that I was really going to be able to handle it. You know, you weren't frightened?
So, I mean, you were just frightened by the road, by the driving, but not the people?
No, not the people.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, I was never afraid of people.
Uh-huh.
No.
You see, when I started, everybody told me, no, you go alone. Yes, of course. But you know, it can be dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, you see what I mean, etc. So I was going to be raped, to be sold in a brothel in Saudi Arabia, etc., etc., etc. And we had this idea, I suppose, in France, maybe because of the war we had with Algeria, which destroyed the relationship between the Muslim countries and us. Yeah. Maybe. Okay. On the very first trip, it was a group, so there was like a wall between me and the countries I was traveling through. But I felt many things. And I said, okay, I start where it is easy, Canada, Alaska, okay?
Yeah.
I got the accident. The first week in Canada, I've been wiped out by a car, okay? So,
oh, wow.
Well, I survived.
Yeah, that's what I was scared of, you see.
No.
That sort of thing, yeah.
Well, okay, it can happen.
Yeah.
I went to Japan, it was all right. I was taken charge by the Kawasaki enterprise because I was on a Kawasaki. India, okay, there are people everywhere. Pakistan as well. And I said, maybe what they say about Afghanistan, which is very empty, maybe. So I go to Kabul, and after one day from Kabul to Kandahar, another day from Kandahar to Herat, and after I'm in Afghanistan, and there are people again. Okay. In the same time, I didn't believe it. So I arrive in India, go to the French embassy to be registered, in case there is a problem, so they know that I exist. And they tell me Afghanistan, maybe not. I say, what is the odds? And they say 2080. Okay, 80, I get through. No, 80, you don't. Okay. At the same time, I didn't believe it. And I arrive at the Afghan border. There were big truckies, and they let me go first before them to have the tampon on my passport, everything. Bang me on the shoulder, very brave woman. And well, good. I take the road to go to Kabul. It was something like 160 kilometers, not very much. And in the middle of nowhere, I have a flat tire. And okay, so I'm not good in mechanics, but with a wrench, I begin to open the wheel of the.
Yes.
First of the truckies arrive, say, problem. No, everything is all right, and it goes away. Second, the same. The third, he doesn't ask, it stops. 3 big guys with turban on their head arrive, don't say a word. I say, okay, I bet I lost, and at the same time didn't believe it. And one of them takes me by the shoulder, sits me on the ground, stays there between the son and me to make sure that it's comfortable. And the two others, they change the wheel, and when it is finished, bang me on the shoulder, very brave woman, and they go away. And I say, I'm a stupid goose. I'm just a stupid goose. How can I imagine that these people have no honor? And I suppose I was born that day.
Yes.
You see,
yes.
there are moments in life where you're born again.
Yes, I see. Yeah.
I was born.
Yeah.
And I learned that day that you can be completely different, completely on the opposite one from the other, but honor is there.
Yeah.
Not always, not everywhere. You have a behavior which makes it, okay, we are not angels, even not me, but honor exists.
Well, what I found that as I was traveling through North Africa, particularly, I was beginning to realize that I didn't have to look like anything. It didn't matter what in normal city life, all the time you're concerned about how you appear, your transactions with people, all about appearances and so on. And it was a tremendous freedom to discover that, of course, I can be anyone I like today. There's nobody here to tell me that I always have coffee in the morning, or I always sleep in a bed, or you could be a different person. You could be anybody, any day you like. And after a while, this gave me a kind of almost a great innocence, and I could see people so much more clearly. I became almost clairvoyant about people. I could almost describe their upbringing, whether they had sisters and brothers, or whether all sorts of things you could find. And it's once you begin to become part of the world that you're traveling through.
Yes, exactly.
That's it, isn't it?
And I had an accident, a car accident in 2012. First time in my life I got broken bones, and I've been put in a hospital in the north of Paris, where people who cure you, everybody comes from North Africa, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So I found myself in the same condition. In fact, it was like traveling in another country where I had been before,
Yes.
And I got the same communication with them, which was absolutely extraordinary because we see that we are so different.
Yes.
And we had a very sincere and deep communication because I understood, and that was the use of that accident. Communication can go through culture, different culture, opposite cultures, go through the roots, the roots of humanity.
Yeah.
And it is a miracle.
Yeah.
When traveling, I didn't ask more because anyhow I couldn't live with them. We are too different, and especially as a woman, you know, the status I would have got in their society, in their civilization, is not mine. So I wouldn't be happy.
That's right.
And I was not looking for that anyhow.
No.
But same thing, it was a miracle that we can share the fact that we are human beings.
Yes.
And this is something I lived so beautifully in those times. But you see, when I had a technical problem, for example, I just nothing about mechanics. I had the book, the factory book, but I knew nothing. And the only thing I knew how to do was to organize the points with cigarette paper.
Yes, right, cigarette paper, yes.
And when I was in India, I asked the people, is it true that story they say on the road that when you have an oil leak, you put bananas into the tank?
Right.
And they say, Acha Mem Sahib, absolutely. But you have to put half a glass of kitchen oil. Good. And you can ride 30 kilometers to go to the to the mechanics, etc.
I had my first crisis after only 7,000 kilometers in Cairo. No, in Alexandria, and there was smoke pouring out of my exhaust pipes,
Right.
and I knew I was going, you know, and there was a war on, and there was no communication. All I had was the workshop manual, you know, and I had to take the barrel off. You know, to get at the pistons.
And you knew how to do that?
I didn't know how to do it. I found out, I spent 2 days doing something that later I could do in 45 minutes because I remembered they gave me a few bits of advice at the factory before I left. And I know they said to me that if you ever have to take the barrel off, there is something you must do or not do. And if you don't do it or do it, it will be a disaster. And I couldn't remember what this was. And so it was like bomb disposal, you know. I'd take out a screw and then I'd sit back.
Don't do that on my chair, you break it.
Oh, yes.
No,
I won't do that, yes. and so it took me all that time to find out. In the end, I had to. Both of the pistons were deformed.
Ah oui?
Yeah, one of them.
And why?
The rings were stuck.
Uh-huh.
You know. And I had a spare piston. I had one spare piston, but it was a twin-cylinder machine. So for the other one, I had a razor blade, and and I shaved the metal off on the slots, you know, where the piston rings sit. It's amazing. I had nothing else I could do. You couldn't get any parts. There was nothing. And I put it together again, and when I started it, there was a huge smoke I thought, oh God, this. But then that went away, and it was all right all the way to South Africa.
Incredible.
Yeah, I think I'm a brilliant mechanic. I must.
No, I knew how to change the oil, and that was it.
Yeah, that's it.
And when there was a problem, anyhow, there are countries which are so gorgeous during the day and so dangerous during the night, like Afghanistan, for example. You know?
Yeah.
So if you were out during the night in the middle of nowhere, there were gangs that were going on foot or maybe on horse sometimes, to attack the trucks which are traveling during the night.
Yeah.
And they would have begun to shoot before seeing me, and they would have been very sad to have killed a woman. But okay, so it happened to me to have a problem in the north of Tehran, and I stopped the truck and put the motorcycle on the truck when it went to town, but never fix anything in many countries on the side of the road. I'm sure that in South America, lots of parts of South America, it was not a good idea to be on the road during the night.
No, I never rode at night. I never did ride at night until I got to India at the end of the journey, and I was having to come back from Orissa to Delhi at the hottest time of the year, and it was impossible. It was so hot during the day that the faster I drove, the hotter I got. Usually...
You drove fast?
No, I didn't. Normally I drove about 80.
Yeah, that's it.
That was the
because on the long road, if you go fast, you exhaust yourself with the wind, with everything.
All I'm saying is that if you drive, if you're hot and you get on the bike and you drive, the air usually cools you off. But in India, it was the opposite.
In Australia as well.
So that's why I rode at night. It was quite scary.
No, I rode. I've been stuck by night on the north of Australia, between Cairns and Normanton, and there was a city which was called Georgetown.
Yes.
But I wanted to camp in Georgetown, and the day after take the first gravel road to Normanton. And I had a 750 BMW that was in 75.
Oh, really?
She was brand new. She was a very good, but on gravel I didn't know what it was. So I arrived in Georgetown, nothing, just a signpost, nothing. And there is a car which arrives. I stop and say, "Where's the city?" "Oh, there's no city, just a ring for races." So what do? Drove back to Cairns? No, 200 kilometers of gravel road to Normanton. Okay, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I take the corrugated iron, where you have to drive minimum 80, because you're sure that you have only like this.
That's
because you bound from one top to the other.
Yeah.
But even though going that, the sun went a little bit down and the day turned gray, and arrived something like suddenly in the middle of nowhere. Of course, it is empty. Sort of a huge red frog. It was a kangaroo. And it jumps in front of me.
Oh, God.
So I beep my horn to say, "Go away." He stops and where does the noise come from? And I stopped from here to the kangaroo, and he say, "Look, kangaroo, you're just the king of the stupid." And the kangaroo was there. "Oh, a talking motorcycle?" I said, "You're stupid, but you're beautiful, Oh, maybe she could be. Where does she come from? We talked with the kangaroo, and after he said, "Look, I have an appointment with a friend," went away. So I learned something.
You just sat there.
Yes. And I got also a wonderful story in the south of Australia. It was a gravel road on the Nullarbor Plain. Same corrugated iron. And on a moment that stopped to corrugate, and you have sand, deep, loose sand. So the motorcycle has to, etc. I try not to fall down. I go very, very slow, and suddenly arrive 2 emus. And they begin to run along the motorcycle. So, okay. And one of the emu puts his very long net over my arm and looks at the little needles which were deep. And I said, "You go away, please." "Oh, have you seen, Marjorie? It moves." It removes its neck, and the second emu arrives, put it...
That's too much to believe.
So you have people who go on drugs. We do not need.
No.
We drive the motorcycle in crazy countries. It's all right. So, did you love stories on the road?
Lose courage.
Not loose carriage. Love stories.
Oh, love stories, love stories. Well, I wasn't looking for it, but in Chile, I got to Santiago. In Santiago, I got to know some people who worked on a women's magazine called Paula, and I was trying to learn Spanish properly, and so I was really beginning to be able to speak it, and there was a very attractive woman called Malu, who worked with this magazine, and they knew that what I was doing, and so they thought it would be fun to do an article of some kind of something to do with women as well, and I fell in love with her for sure. She was. I still know her very well. I mean,
oh, yes.
Well, I know her, but she's quite old now and a bit reclusive. But yeah, and it was a very novelette-ish love affair, because the army was out in the streets and there was a curfew and gunfire every night, and all of this was, so everything was at a very heightened level, So it was a very and she belonged to pretty high society in Chile, and there were things she didn't think she could do, Anyway, I had to go. I couldn't stay.
Why? You didn't have the temptation to stay and build a
I
life?
was tempted, but I had no. All the way around the world, I was always thinking, I've got to get this done. I've got to write this book. I've got to do it. That was the number one thing, and the second time I fell in love was in Northern California, and I stopped for a while.
What do you call a while?
Mm-hmm.
How long is a while?
4 months. I was on this commune in Northern California. It was a marvelous experience. She was a lovely girl, and I did fall in love with her. And she knew I was going to have to go on, and she was you're in your fucking mission. She's, she was. It was very difficult.
To choose, yeah.
If I hadn't had the book to write, I could have stopped in many places. In Brazil, after I came out of prison, after they let me go, I went down to Rio, and I had the introductions to some pretty wealthy people, and they all thought I was a hero because I'd been in jail. I got this special decoration for having been imprisoned, and I could easily have made a life for myself. And so all these several occasions, and it was very hard to let go.
On the contrary of you, I didn't make long stops. You see? The longest stop I had is when I've been stolen my camera in Cusco, in Peru.
Uh-huh.
And I had to stay in Peru, in Cusco, during 40 days till the last camera was sent from France, because without photo I couldn't sell my articles, and I had no proof of my trips. Mm-hmm. And there I stood 40 days, but no, I had no love affair in Cusco.
No.
And no.
But you liked Peruvians.
The 3 countries I loved the most were Afghanistan, Peru, and Australia.
Yeah.
And the only country where I could have built a life was Australia. Uh-huh. I would not have got my family maybe I would have stayed in Australia because I had a huge road open on the Australian TV. But I didn't want to leave my parents getting old without me.
Actually, not sure. I think there are some pictures.
Oh, you have color pictures in your book.
Yeah.
Good.
I think there might be.
And you took the pictures?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
There they are.
Ah oui. That is you?
That's me. Yes.
Oh, you're better now. And oh, look.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
Yeah. No, I'm.
And you had a mustache.
I had a mustache. Yes. It was popular in those times. When did you wear that?
Around the world.
All the time?
In fact, I bought it in 1968. Voilà. So here you have what Kawasaki put.
Yeah.
I think it was Kawasaki.
And BMW.
No, it was BMW.
This is a BMW.
Maybe,
thing,
yes.
Yeah.
Little things. And when I started, all my friends came and say, how many kilometers before you fall? Because the first trip, the rally, when I went on, everybody was betting that I would fall at 500 kilometers. And they lost because I fell at, what was it? 750 or something so. So when I say to my friends, I go for a trip around the world, they say, how many kilometers do you fall? 1,000. 995 north of Montreal. A car passes me. He had a trailer behind. Schlam. And this opened the...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You fell on your head?
Yes, and I still hear the noise of all the brakes around my head.
Jesus.
And being on a motorcycle, I couldn't bring too many things because it was too heavy. So, what did I put? I brought that from Afghanistan, you see?
Ah, yes.
You know what it is?
No, I don't.
You don't? You did see that?
No.
Look.
Oh, look at that.
That was the
No.
thing every Afghan had in his pocket.
I never saw that.
And they used to do that sometimes with tin cans, metal, you know.
The knife is wonderful. I think that's brilliant.
When I was traveling, you know, taking a plane or something,
Yeah.
I used to put it inside,
Yes,
you know,
of course.
under the coat inside.
Yeah.
And in the
I'm surprised they let you.
when I was traveling on plane.
They weren't so good at finding these things anymore in those days, probably.
And when I was on the airport, the machines didn't go inside, couldn't find the metal inside of this.
They couldn't?
No, because you see, you had already a little bit of metal here.
Yes, I see.
So it was more metal, and it didn't know it was a terrible weapon.
Do you still drink wine?
Of course.
Yes, well, I ask you about the wine because I keep thinking really I ought to stop drinking wine. I'm 94 years old and I really shouldn't.
Okay.
But I still drink it.
We'll drink water. Okay.
I still drink it. No, I hope we're going to drink wine tonight.